The next thing that I want to address, because it's the thing that most concerns me, is a comment by the senator carrying the bill, who was very careful to say it wasn't his bill, and I understand, that they had tried to address, and I believe it was, apologize while I get to that part of the bill, Section 8, that they were trying to address some of the constitutional issues raised in the Arizona court by Section 8, dealing with essentially the traffic stop issue. What I want you to understand, and this without getting down into the weeds of the differences between how 50 different states write 50 different sets of laws, what we've done has not, in fact, by leaving in the traffic offense issue, we have not, in fact, addressed the issue that the Arizona court ruled on in Arizona, and that is because, and I've got an 87-page opinion here, if someone wants me to start pulling out stuff, but basically the way they do their traffic offenses and their municipal ordinances, because they don't have home rule. There are only a very few states have home rule. It's not done that way. As long as we've got folks being able to stop people here for probable cause because they were speeding, because they ran a stop sign, because someone says that the dealer installed truck hitch, manufacturer's equipment is in theory blocking their view of the license, that is also the license plate that is installed where the manufacturer installed put for that license plate to be installed. As if that ball, dealer equipment, is obstructing where that license plate goes, where the dealer, not the dealer equipment, I'm sorry, manufacturer's equipment, where the manufacturer manufactured that bumper to hold that license plate. If someone stopped for that, you know, oh, your license plate is obstructed, oh, your lights are tinted too dark, or you've got a light out, and then they end up pulling someone over and trying to ask them, or are mandated to ask folks about their immigration status. That's something that doesn't even occur in the Arizona statute, because they don't their statute was never worded that way to start with about traffic stops, because they don't have that type of situation where they have those type of code stops. Now what you've got is this in here, and that absolutely has to be removed, or we will be litigating that one all the way to the Supreme Court. And to be locking people up, asking people for papers because maybe they're a light's out, a blinker's off, or maybe it's not. Someone's just decided, because I know, because it's happened to me, because those who have seen my car know, I think one of the senators referred to my car as the Batmobile. I have been stopped by folks saying, oh, and the police officers actually come up to my car saying, oh, well, I thought that your brake lights were tinted too dark. It's BMW tint, just in case anybody wants to know, but it's a special edition car. They said, well, but upon my rolling down the window and them realizing, not that I'm SS5, but realizing that I'm not a minority, they say, well, we thought that your car's the tint on the back of your taillights was too dark, but now that you've applied your brakes, we realize that it's not too dark. And then they wave me on. Something absolutely ridiculous. If I have someone in my car, I'm going to be stopped. They're going to arrest me. They're going to arrest them. And that's a code violation. That's not a crime. That's not a misdemeanor. That's not anything other than an ordinance. And we've got to get that out of this bill if you really want to be cleaning up this bill, as the senator from the 30th and others claimed that they were trying to do as they were drilling down into that opinion. They needed to take a look and start comparing how Arizona's counties and cities classify their traffic violations versus how we do them, because you can't always compare apples to oranges and say, oh, well, we fixed this, it'll be fine. We didn't fix it, it won't be fine. So I do hope that, especially when you're looking at Amendment 2, folks will take a look at possibly changing that, because otherwise we are going to end up litigating that. and it's a useless thing to be litigating about, and it's the easiest way to engage in racial profiling. So you'll get the double benefit of a probably unconstitutional provision in a statute. On top of it, you're going to have the added element of the whole racial profiling debate being front and center in the area where people most often report racial profiling when it comes to traffic issues. I do think that the last thing that I wanted to say as folks are looking at this is that the E-Verify system, and whether it's going to be 10 or 25 or not at all or 5, if you're really trying to run our economy back into the ground, you will pass one of these employer mandates that will be a job-killing bill. There's no other way around it when we're just coming out of the recession. The only amendment that I see that probably doesn't do that is Amendment 3 that essentially, and it's not my amendment, I just happen to be speaking about it, that essentially eliminates the E-Verify system. It's not accurate. It will kill. It is cumbersome to use. It's incredibly cumbersome. I know that everybody's bannered around what's a small business, and I guess anyone, honestly, pretty much any employer thinks they're a small business. But because I thought it should have been 40 or 45 because that's what the retailers in my district were saying. Other people said 20, 25. Apparently some folks think it's 10, some folks think it's 5. The reality is it's a bad idea whose time has not come. And if we could just simply strike that out of the bill, you could still have all of the enforcement provisions. You would still have the meat of what folks who are trying to get at this problem, even though I don't think that we should be addressing this problem, you would still have the meat of this problem being dealt with without shooting the economic recovery that we've just started on in the foot. And so I ask folks to consider that. And then once again, as I close, I'm just asking y'all to think we could be waiting a year. We could wait till next year because nobody's going to get in any more trouble. Maybe we'll get a few more faxes, a few more emails. But we've all gotten to vote for or against a bill in this chamber and the other chamber. There's no reason we couldn't have waited and let the Supreme Court rule on this, let the dust settle, and figure out what we're going to do. Even Mississippi, a state just as red as ours, and I say that as a member of the Blue Party, a state where their governor wants to be president on the Republican ticket, has waved off doing these anti-immigration bills because a governor wanting to be president in a red state knew that this wouldn't exactly sell well, not even in Mississippi. So I just ask you to consider that when looking at Amendments 1, 2, and 3, because those go to the meat of whether we are going to have a lot of boycotts, whether we're going to have a lot of whether we're going to have a lot of lawsuits, and whether, in fact, we engage in killing off our economic recovery or not. Unless there are questions, and that at the end, I would encourage members to consider voting against the bill. You could then vote to reconsider it, send it back to rules, and it would live again, as bills always do in this place, until next session so that we can see what's going on, and so that for those that are actually honestly and earnestly trying to find a bill that will pass constitutional muster and give us a couple of extra months under our belt of this economic recovery we're just starting to get into, we might be able to actually do that. Unless there are questions, I'll yield the well.
No questions, sir. All right, this is the posture.